Thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with your host, Prophetess T. Hey, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are on God's green earth, guys. Thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine with me, your hostess, Prophetess T. So we are back again, and I'm just going to ask if you can, if you're watching the live broadcast of this podcast, if you'll hit the share and like button at the bottom of your screen and invite some people into this conversation. As you know, September is the month where it is recognized as Suicide Prevention Month. And we've been sharing with you some different topics, some different outlooks as far as dealing with the area of suicide in different aspects, along with veterans, with the male gender, things that you can do to help those who have reached out to you or might be possibly struggling with mental health issues. I have given you guys a number that if you do not feel that you can trust anybody in your home, or you feel like you can't go to your pastor or anybody that you know, 988 is the national number that you can reach out. These people are trained. It is up and running 24/7, 365 days a year. They will be there to listen and get you connected to whoever it is that you need to talk to. Let me reiterate this. You are valued. You are needed. That narrative that you might be hearing in your head that everybody would be better off without you is not truth. So please, there is hope. The Bible says it for a reason. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. God will give you beauty for your ashes and joy for your mourning. So there will be an end to this. So while you're going through, while you're trying to get into the right place to help you not feel like you're not seen or valued, reach out to somebody and let them talk to you. Reach out to your pastor, reach out to a teacher, a mentor, reach out to somebody and just talk it out. Because sometimes we got to get out of our own head. You know, the voice in our head, sometimes it tries to cancel, truths out on us. So to wrap up this month, we've got our favorite therapist back in. Yeah, I'm so excited. I haven't seen her in a while. She didn't got all skinny on us, y'all. She's looking real good. I am so excited to have Miss Carol Lothery back in. And for those of you all that have never sat in with us on the conversation, Miss Carol Lothery is an LPCA, and I had her break down because they got all these letters after their names. So she's a licensed professional counseling associate. Miss Carol has been doing this for 46 years. So baby, she comes with receipts, y'all. So she knows what she's talking about. She has helped a lot of people, worked with a lot of children and adults as well. This is what God has called and ordained her to. And that's the one thing that I do love about Miss Carol. She is a powerful woman of God in her own right. So even though we know that prayer can change things, there is nothing wrong with walking alongside a therapist or a counselor or a mentor or a coach. God has people in positions of these type of jobs that do pick up a Bible, that operated in the move of the Holy Spirit, but also know that sometimes You need, along with prayer, you might need to be in therapy. You might need a short time in a hospital. You might need to come along with some medications. You might, heck, just need to go to sleep and get some decent rest or change medications or stop eating certain things. There could be a whole lot of things that are going on that can have your mind messing with you. And I love it that Jesus was a counselor most of all. So that tells you that God has people in all different types of positions. Don't shut the door off just because you hear the word therapist. All right. This is a woman of God, a powerful woman of God who has been doing this for a long time. And she has helped a lot of people. She has helped me truly. I love her. She is a lifetime friend. And Sister Christ, she's not going anywhere in my life, rather she likes it or not and knows it. So without further ado, y'all, welcome Miss Carol Lothery onto the program.
Hello, how are you?
Hey, did I do it up good to let you know you're not going nowhere ever?
Yeah, Marty did it too much because I don't want him to think I know everything because I don't.
Oh, I know that God is going to give you whatever you don't know, and if you don't know, you'll find it out. So.
That's true too. That is true too.
So, Miss Carol, so like I said, I was saying to our audience tonight, we're going to talk about suicide prevention. And one of the things that I was going through statistics and looking at it, like the current update. And one of the things when I went on to the government site, as far as looking at statistics, one of the things that I noticed is that they're stating now that suicide is one of the leading causes of death. And it doesn't just affect the person that committed suicide, but it also loved ones that are around them or associates and things. It can affect all ages, all ethnicities, all backgrounds. So it's not just mostly attacking one type of person, individual, or age group. Now, there are higher risk people at risk at the tendency of thinking about, suicide. Do you care to kind of, jump in and share with us?
Yeah, and you're correct. Suicide is the leading cause of death, and affects people of all ages, of all aspects of life. Is not just the poor or the and or the rich. It's all of us. You know, what the Christian or the non-Christian. We all have those struggles. We all have those inner demons that come in and kind of cause us to think about life and whether life is worth living or not. Um, in 2023, suicide was among the top 8 leading causes of death in people between the ages of 10 and 64. And it's the second leading cause of death for people the age between the ages of 10 and 34. So just think about that. The leading cause, the second leading cause of death. The battlefield is in the mind, and that's what we have to get hold of. Is that we have to take control of those thoughts and those feelings we have, and see how we can work through that um, by noticing some of the signs too that are there. Because typically everybody gives us a sign when they feel like they're less than or they don't want to be here anymore.
So can we get into talking about that? Is there anything specific that we should be paying attention to?
Well, the one thing that we need to understand is that suicide is not merely about killing oneself. It rather it means it's a means of escape from either psychological or physical pain that you're having. Sometimes people get to the point where they think they don't have an option, and there's no recourse for them. So the only recourse is death. Oftentimes we don't think about that once we kill ourselves, we're not going to come back. It's not kind. It's kind of not like the cartoons presented to be. The Wile E. Coyote falls off the cliff and then they come
Yeah.
alive again. It doesn't happen that way. And most of our children think that if they hurt themselves, they're going to come back out of it without a struggle, and it isn't. We've got to be able to pay attention to the warning signs and the things that our children are saying. Most of the things that our children might say, or what a young person sees as serious or insurmountable, we as adults don't take it serious at all. We think of it as minor. But we have to understand from a child's perspective, that's a serious thing for them. So, when they say, I don't want to be here anymore, pay close attention to it. And don't be afraid to ask. Most of us think that asking will cause that person to think about the suicide. Asking may prevent that person from committing suicide. So don't be afraid to ask, hey, are you thinking about suicide, or what's going on? Tell me, or being there for support. Um, and not judgmental. We have to get to the point where we we got to take the stigmatism away of shame and guilt, and so that people can ask for help. Um, we make suicide seem like it's a dirty thing, and it's not. It's a cry for help.
And I think that's something we should pay attention to, uh, really, really a lot. Like I said, I think my mother did an amazing job with me. She knew something was going on, but she didn't know what it was. So in her way, she tried her best to do whatever she could to pull me out of a funk that I was in. So she would try to get me out of my room, because one of the things I did do was I isolated myself.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I kept to myself all the time. Uh, didn't have a lot of friends. Spent a lot of time in my room. Um, and I think those are things you need to pay attention, is when you have a child that's used to being out there, or when they do get off into isolating themselves, that can be a warning sign.
And that's a good thing to bring up, because most people think, that the person will talk about wanting to die all the time. Sometimes they don't.
I
Sometimes
never did.
it's very secretive. Uh, like you said, isolating themselves, or changing up their routine so that they're not with people as much anymore. Um, Even being preoccupied with death or dying or even violence is a signal that there may be some issues with suicide ideation going on. You know, and paying talking about that communication is the most important aspect of ensuring that your child or your loved one gets through this. Having that open support and saying, I'm going to love you unconditionally. That's a lot of things where a lot of our kids and the loved ones get to a point too where they think that, oh, if I tell somebody, then they're gonna think bad of me, or they're gonna think I'm weak. Uh, that's not weakness. That's being strong.
Amen. And I think too, another thing is too, if you're even dealing with, maybe you have a friend or somebody that has a lot of medical issues. I love my son, one of my children. He said, "Hey, mom, I know I'm starting to have a real issue, because he's always was in the hospital losing a lot of weight and everything. He was just really struggling, and he's like, I know my mind's messing with me, because I'm just tired."
Mm-hmm.
He was tired of the pain.
Mm-hmm.
He was tired of messing with the medications. So I made it a point to intentionally reach out to him. What did you do today? Uh, what was your focus today? We talked about, what were you thinking on? Where was your head at when you was going here? What is your plan? Like, what have you got planned for today? What are you going to do today? I follow through, make sure that he accomplished that. If you didn't do it, why? What was going on? So just trying to keep him busy or occupied, to get him out of his head voice, is what I'm trying to do. Um, So I mean,
Essential, getting your having that open communication. I often tell my parents of the clients that I have time where you sit down each evening and check in on your child, see what's going on with them. You had a bad day today, let's talk about it. A lot of time we're also busy doing our thing that we don't think about that there's another person over here that may not have had a good day. So let's check it out and let's find out, checking in with each member of the family each time you come in. And it doesn't have to be something that's a big production. It can be while you're sitting at the dinner table. Hey, how was your day today? Tell me what went on. Asking about feelings. What are you feeling today? um, Asking about their thoughts about certain things that are going on. um, if they have even about the world today. Most times we don't think that children understand all of the politics that are going on in the world, but they do. And it's important for us to see what's your thoughts, what's going on, how are you feeling.
and I don't think we pay attention that our kids are listening. They're ear hustling a lot more than we really realize. So hearing, arguments between mom and dad, when you think you're hiding away somewhere else in the house, kids are something else. We heard our parents. We paid attention to what was going on. We watched behaviors. So sometimes that can affect children. Like you said, even with politics being all over the place, the internet now, I think, can be a dangerous place for a lot of kids as well because we have a lot of cyberbullying.
And that's important for our parents to find out, what's going on with our kids at school, because the bully, your child is not going to come to you and say, hey, Johnny's bullying me. You're going to have to look for those clues that are there. Again, going back to the isolation, again, going back to not wanting to communicate with family or friends, um, getting into drugs and alcohol.
So it looks like we got a question. You're being asked, what if you are trying to communicate to the child, but they don't want to respond, or every answer is, I don't know?
And that is that's what we call the avoidance, and you'll have to learn how to read your child. um, um, Oftentimes what I find is how you frame the question. When a child is avoiding to answering, we use you know you, or why are you doing this, if you would only, um, more we need to frame our questions in a way that that child feels really safe, and able to answer what's going on with them. And a lot of times our children don't know what they're feeling because they're not in tune to what their thoughts and their feelings are. They're not in tune to we only, if I asked about feelings, sometimes I ask my kids, my clients, feelings, and they'll only give you happy, mad, sad, or glad, because they don't know any other feelings. But there are a whole plethora of feelings out there, but the child doesn't know how to access those feelings because they're not familiar with them. Um, Making it a safe, making it sure that your child knows that it's safe to come and talk to me. You're not going to be condemned. You're not going to be fussed at. You're not going to be put down because you have this thought. Most of our children don't communicate with us as parents because they think we're going to say, "Oh, you know better than that," or "Oh, I love you." No, they don't. If they're asking, if they're doubting, they don't know that you love them. So, affirming that love through your actions, being available for them, uh, letting them know through, different aspects of their lives that you care for them.
So, and I think one of the things that we also learn is asking open-ended questions.
Mhm.
So you can't ask them a question where all they can say is, I don't know, or yes, or maybe. You want them to expound on it if at all possible. And like you said, I think our biggest problem is if they don't feel like they can trust us not to pass judgment on them, they're not going to want to share with us because they're like, if I do, they're going to think less of me, or I'm going to get in trouble, because they don't think that I can say what I say without, getting reprimanded for failing that. Because believe it or not, rather, no matter who we are, we've all had bouts of fear or anger or disappointed or frustration, or might just want to run away from life in general.
Right. Hmm.
So being able to, know that I can say that without, you coming right back at me. How dare you think that? Or are you crazy? You know, maybe I'm having a moment. Like I feel like I just don't want to be here. Well, what is taking you to that moment? Why do you feel that way? Um,
And warnings, signs aren't always obvious. They vary from person to person. Some make their intentions very, very clear because they're saying, I'm going to kill myself, or I wish I was dead, or I'd be better off not being here. And then there are those who are very, very silent and don't say anything. And we think of those as the good kids, because they don't cause any conflict, they don't cause any disruptions. Those are the ones that we need to talk to the most.
that's who I was. I was a good kid in the family.
Mhm.
So they didn't know that I was storing up pills and hiding them away in my room. So I don't think there's nothing wrong with parents going and checking.
No.
Um, uh, I don't think there's anything wrong with going up and asking them to come down and spend time with you. Miss Carol, I think one of the things that makes our society a little different is that we don't have family meals together. You got one parent here, one parent there. Kids are doing sports and everything else. So there's never a time that the family actually comes together anymore and sits down and have conversation. Parents are so tired. I know that for me, I felt like I would be wrong because my mother was always complaining about my father. So I didn't want to be a burden to her. My brothers were always getting in trouble. So I didn't want to tell her what was going on with me, even though my mom was my best friend, really. I didn't want to add to the situation. So I did spend a lot of time by myself having conversation with myself. And that was my downfall because I talked. Eventually, I allowed those voices talk me into being bold enough to take a whole bottle of pills and swallow
And
them.
as single parents, I know we you take on the load of being the father and the mother and breadwinner in the house, but still we have to keep in mind that we have to continue to talk to our children. We have to let them know that we're accessible.
Mhm.
Um, that we're there and that we're going to support them no matter what. The unconditional love part of it is the essential part, and that open communication, letting them know you can come to me about anything. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to like it, but what I am going to tell you is that I will support you.
Right. And this goes for all age groups. Like I said, the child I was talking about, he was in his 30s, and very busy. But here he got hit with a medical situation that changed his outlook on life. He felt like a hindrance, a burden, because he was always running to the hospital. His life was being changed by an ailment. So, I mean, reaching out to those, that we know that are going through medical issues, checking up on them, checking their temperature. And like you said, not being afraid when you see somebody that's starting to pull away and change, asking that questions. Hey, are you having suicidal thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
No, where's your head? And if you're having those thoughts, how would you do it?
Right, right.
So
I think there was a question of what are some of the signs and symptoms, and like I said, they all vary, but some are having mood swings. One day they're going to be they're emotionally high, and the next day they're so low that they can't get up out of bed. Being preoccupied, like I said, with death, dying, or violence. Uh, Changing your normal routine or eating habits or sleeping habits, giving away your I know a long time ago people would tell you that if you see somebody giving something that they value away, that you know that they probably would not give away, that's something that they wouldn't give away, then you might want to ask, what's going on. Giving away belongings, or getting your affairs in order, so that you don't bother you don't bother the person that you're leaving, trying to make it good for them, saying goodbye to people like you'll never see them again, um, for children, looking at whether or not there's some psychiatric disorders going on. Is there some depression, or is there anxiety going on? Is there any traumas going on in their lives? Finding out, uh, is somebody being is sexually abused, emotionally abused, physically abused? Um, Looking for drugs and alcohol. If all of a sudden you've got a child who's starting to use drugs and alcohol and they hadn't before, that's a warning sign. What's going on? Typically, when they start using the drugs and alcohol, it's because they're trying to find a way to anesthetize themselves to take that pain away. Like I said, anything to relieve the psychological or the physiological pain that's going on, um, is what they're looking for.
and I know, like I said, when I was looking at the statistics as far as what the government keeping track on, one of the areas or one of the things that they noticed too is that the higher average rates of suicide were among veterans. A lot of homeless veterans, they were saying was an issue. People who live in rural areas that have industry, struggles now, financial struggles. Can be something that triggers adults into doing it. A lot of things that they're noticing with young people are people who identify as lesbian, gay, or bisexual. They have a higher prevalence of suicide thoughts, behavior compared to peers who identify as heterosexual. So having identity crisis can throw children into struggling with it. So it's something we have to, take, and a lot of adults too, trying to find out who they are and struggling with that. And even in the Christian community, we have to be aware with that. I mean, even if it isn't even on a sexual nature, if you don't even know who you are in Christ,
Right.
it can throw you into this type of mental battle. And believe it or not, we have struggles. There are pastors. Last year, there was a high rate of pastors who were committing uh, a suicide. They were giving up. Their churches, they felt like were struggling. Who do they go to? Because now nobody wants to believe that a pastor can have good or bad days or can deal with mental issues or depression. So this is
That's interesting because, prior to this, you and I were talking about cognitive distortions. Everyone has cognitive distortions. And when I talk about cognitive distortions, those are those thoughts that really have no basis, they have no foundation, but because the way that we feel and the perception of those feelings that we have, we take them on as being real. Um, you know, looking at whether or not we're what we call catastrophizing. You know, never, nothing's ever going right for me. Nothing's ever going to be right for me. No matter what I do, it's never good enough. Um, when your child is doing those kind of thoughts, having those kind of thoughts, you need to look into it and be concerned about it, because if they're doing the catastrophizing, if they're doing the minimizing, everybody's more important than I am, but everybody's feelings are more important than my feelings. If they're doing the all or nothing thinking, what I call is throwing the baby out with the bathwater kind of thinking, you know, I might as well not be here because all I ever do is cause trouble. Those types of thoughts, those are the times that we really need to seek a treatment for our children. And like I said, don't be afraid to ask, what are you thinking? Are you thinking about hurting yourself? And if they say yes, say, thank you for telling me. Now let's go get help.
Right. And I think that that's, once again, that as far as Christianity, we need to get it in our head that there is nothing wrong with walking alongside with a therapist.
No.
Because, like I said, one of the things that I did learn in classes is sometimes it ain't even what we think it is. It could very well be that there are things that they know to look for that we may not, as a parent or as a spouse or as a friend, be able to see. Uh, it could be very well that we need to change sleeping behaviors. Uh, Deficiencies in vitamins can throw people into thinking, having the wrong perceptions. Medications that are being counterproductive against each other that maybe somebody didn't pay attention to. A therapist can catch some of these things. And then again, needing somebody that they feel safe with, because they don't want to disappoint a parent or a spouse. They might not, like I said, I didn't want to overwhelm my mother. I felt like she had enough on her plate. So I couldn't be honest with her as feeling like I didn't see myself as uh, contributing to the family in a productive way, even though I was trying to do superhero things. Uh, I still did not feel complete. I felt like I was a burden.
And oftentimes we don't seek help because we're embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
That carries that stigmatism of, oh, you got to see a therapist. And particularly in the Black community, um, there's that stigmatism of, we don't see therapists. Everything is, God based. If you God handles it all. But just like a doctor, just like a surgeon, that's what therapists are there for too. God put therapists on the earth too to help we through some of this stuff. We are His um, left hand, right hands, to help people to work through the things, the struggles that you're going through. But also establish a support network. A lot of times I'll ask, people uh, who supports you, who is your intimate circles, who's in your intimate circle, and you'll be surprised that a lot of people don't have a support network. And it doesn't have to be a big network either. It doesn't have to be 50 people. It can one or two people that that you can trust. That when you have a feeling, then like I said, that you can go talk to, and it's non-judgmental. Um, that's a support system. Use that support system.
Amen. And Miss Carol, that's one of the things that I love about what I do with mental health coaching. I am not a licensed therapist as you are, but I can come alongside with you, with that person, be that mentor, be that accountability person. We can help come alongside and walk with that person on achieving goals that a therapist may set in place with them, be in a place, because we're not here to do like what you do. I'm not here to help solve your problem. I'm here to help you walk through your process when you get to the answer to what you need to do. So that's what mental health coaches or life coaches do, or health coaches or whatever. We're to come walk alongside with you to help you see how you can achieve your goal. What are the steps to get you to that goal? We walk alongside with you, helping you achieve that. So I do want to keep emphasizing, if you feel like you can't trust anybody, that 988 number is there. They have better help. I myself had to use BetterHelp.
Mhm.
Um, and BetterHelp is awesome,
Mhm.
because now you don't have to go into an office per se, to sit down and talk to somebody. They actually had therapists, and I specifically asked. I said, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for, I need somebody that's going to come alongside with me that also has Christian values." Because this is the type of therapist I was looking to utilize for what I need, specifically in a certain area, and they set me up with somebody that I used, and I didn't have to sit like hours, or not hours, days or weeks or years with a therapist. It was somebody I had to utilize just for a temporary situation, to help me get my mind in the right place. I knew that I could go down that dark tunnel, because I am a person who has gotten deliverance from depression, but it doesn't mean that I don't have bouts.
Absolutely.
So when I felt myself going there, I did reach out again because I knew where that could take me. Um, and
Remembering that suicidal feelings are temporary.
right,
They're temporary. You may feel hopeless or that life's not worth living, but when we get the treatment that we need, it helps you to gain a new perspective on life. It helps you to kind of think that there are other ways. Like I said, taking that thought and examining that thought. Is there any evidence or truth to the thought that I'm having? Or is my thought based on a feeling and that perception of that feeling that I'm having? And most often than not, it is the feeling that we're having and the perception of that feeling that we're basing everything off of. And what we have to understand is that our feelings are not always indicative of what is going on around us.
amen,
I to you. So
amen,
don't trust what your feelings are. Trust more of what are the actual facts, what is actually going on in my life that is maybe causing or triggering the feelings that we have, because there are triggers, and triggers are just exactly what it is, triggers, those things that cause. But also understand and know that our body gives us what we call cues, uh, and let us know when things are going wrong. There's physiological cues, there's the emotional cues, the behavioral cues, and the cognitive cues. Your physiological cues are what's happening in your body, and those are typically the first things that will occur. The headaches, the pounding of the heart, the getting flushed within your face, or sweaty palms, your emotions. Remember, emotions are just emotions until you put an action to them and make them into your feelings. They're neither right nor wrong until you put an action to it. Uh, Examine what those behavioral things are. If I'm starting to be verbally aggressive, if I'm starting to like I said, go back to the isolation again, or withdrawal, those are things that I need to examine. If I'm starting to self mutilate, what we call self harm behaviors. Now I will say this: because a person self mutilates or self harms does not mean that he's going to commit suicide. Oftentimes the self-harm behavior is just to dull the pain as well, and oftentimes they don't intentionally mean to hurt themselves. It's just to get rid of the pain, but that's a precursor, so watch out. Find out, why are you cutting yourself? What's the trigger to the child cutting themselves or wanting to harm themselves? um, then there's the cognitive thoughts. looking at what's the self-talk that we have. Are we always talking disparagingly to ourselves? Is it always negative? Or are our thoughts grounding and uplifting? Examining those thoughts that we have. If you have a negative thought, then that negative thought is going to produce a negative feeling. That negative feeling is going to produce a negative behavior, and the negative behavior is going to produce a negative outcome. Despite what algebra tells you that a negative plus a negative produces a positive, it does not. If your behavior is negative, it will produce a negative outcome. So examine your thoughts. Why are we thinking the way that we're thinking? And figure out what those triggers are, because the triggers are there. We just need to know what they are.
Right. And then, there could be like a lot of undercurrent stuff, like you said, that could be leading to why we're behaving, or your child is behaving this way, or your spouse, or the person that you're standing next to at your job that now you used to get along with, but now they're acting crazy or out of pocket. There could be things that lead up to that. So there's nothing wrong, again, with meeting a therapist or going to a therapist or talking to somebody to help you get out your head voice. Like you said, we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. So we know that the enemy is always trying to plant things within our minds. So that's why God says daily, we got to kill this and renew our mind. We got one more question, and then we're kind of running out of time. Miss Carol, what's the best way to recognize if a person is masking, like Robin Williams? He was the happiest go lucky person, and then what happened?
And in all actuality, if they, not assigning blame or anything, but Robin Williams probably exhibited a lot of symptoms that people just didn't notice. Yeah, people try to mask it with looking happy, but listen to the inflection and the tone of their voice. Listen to the way they get along with people. Listen to how they treat themselves. If you're not kind with yourself, you're always talking negatively about yourself, and you never have a good thing to say about yourself. That's something you need to examine as well. Um,
And I think they said that he truly had an ailment that people didn't pay attention to, and he didn't want to have to deal with that.
yeah,
Um,
if you have physical illnesses or even mental health illnesses, because they can make you think different things as well. You know, um,
Making fun of yourself before somebody else does. I did that.
yeah, absolutely. That's
Yeah.
what we call those cognitive distortions, the minimization, the mind reading, the fortune telling, all of those things. Um, Everybody gives us clues. They may be subtle, but but we give off clues.
All right. So, Miss Carol, I want to thank you for giving us a little bit of your time, and we could get into this real deep and more in depth. But unfortunately, I ran out of time today. But again, guys, if you know somebody who is struggling, or if you yourself are struggling with your thoughts, we want you to know that God is concerned and cares, and He does have people out there that you can reach out to. And even if you're a person who isn't who doesn't believe in God, and you're watching this podcast or you're hearing this podcast, I implore you and encourage you, still reach out. There is somebody who may be able to help you, who not may, will be able to help you. The thought, it doesn't, that's just because you think it does not make it true. Just because you think it does not make it true. And it could be just as well something that is actually affecting you, that's causing your mind to go there. Pre-mental, pre-menopause, going through eating, not getting enough sleep can throw you into these kind of actions. So you really should get to see a specialist. Even your primary care doctor may notice something. So you might want to get a checkup. You might
And
want to talk to
that
them.
Robin Williams thing, his use of humor was his cover up.
Yeah, yeah. So pay attention to those. Please, please reach out to somebody. 988 is that 24-hour no judgment hotline. So please, again, thank you, Miss Carol, for coming on and speaking with us. Thank you to all of y'all that put questions out there. Still, if you have questions, this post is going to be up for a week. Hit me up, hit an inbox. We're here. If I don't know, I will find out. I have access to Miss Carol, so I'll reach out to her for you if I don't know the answer. And please, that number, they can get you to the help that you need. So don't let insurance not be the reason that you don't reach out. That is free of charge, 988. They can get you to whoever it is you need to. They can find the help you need. Thank you again for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it is your time to shine with me, your hostess, T. Freeman. Be blessed, and we'll talk to you soon. Sorry about that. We thank you for tuning in to I've Got Favor, where it's your time to shine with Prophetess T.